Spark Books here. Today, I'm going to explain the book, Feedback, and Other Dirty Words, by Tamra Chandler and Dowling Grealish. Take care, enjoy the book, and have a nice day. Feedback, and Other Dirty Words, 2019, is a smart and practical guide to something many of us fear: seeking, giving and receiving feedback. It explains how we can avoid the negative psychological reactions many of us have to feedback, and offers practical tips for how we can all build a positive and helpful feedback culture. Key idea number 1. Feedback is vital to growth, but its reputation has suffered. Ready for the day, you enter work. I've received some feedback, your supervisor says as you sit down. Enter my office. We get excited simply hearing this. We walk to the boss's office with sweaty palms and numb legs. What did I do? Did I mess up? The comments may be neutral or positive. Why are we so anxious, immediate, and pushy when offered it? Feedback is always mishandled. Bad leaders utilize brutal honesty to chastise or manipulate staff. Even good employers save positive and negative criticism for annual performance assessments. Not only givers, you've undoubtedly become defensive, debated the facts, or yelled about someone else's mistakes. Unfortunately, effective feedback improves business performance. A 2018 study examined performance management approaches in 57 U.S. companies. Building a performance feedback culture, where managers are trained and encouraged to give feedback, improved performance the most. Managers in such environments give frequent, thoughtful feedback. The best feedback companies made twice as much money as the worst feedback ones. Good feedback was also the management practice most significantly connected with employee motivation. Feedback still not convincing? Despite its negative reputation, the author's most common criticism as management consultants is that people don't get enough feedback. Office Vibe's 2018 Worldwide Employee Engagement Study indicated that 62% of workers requested more feedback and 83% liked it, positive or negative. Good feedback is wanted, thus any company should foster it. We must first understand why we are failing before we can create such a culture. Key idea number 2. Feedback can be scary and stressful. Why is feedback so stressful? Brains and evolution hold the key. Even good input can trigger a fear reaction in the amygdala if you've experienced bad feedback before. That response evolved to threats. It was useful thousands of years ago when you noticed a saber-toothed tiger coming. As blood was diverted to arms and legs to prepare you to run, your face flushed and mouth dried out. Your heart would pump blood to fuel action. Today, it's quite useless when it responds to input. Recalling unpleasant feedback triggers your amygdala. Your body and mind suddenly overreact. Survival trumps reason and emotion. Result? No matter how logical your boss's critique is, you won't understand it. How do you stay calm and process input if your heart is racing and your palms are sweating? Focusing on your body might help you relax. Our brain can only be active in one area. The primitive brain's amygdala activates fight, flight, or freeze behavior. Focusing on bodily sensations like your feet on the floor requires your prefrontal cortex, or wise brain. Focusing on your body can calm your primal, scary brain. For stress relief, try 4-7-8 breathing. Count 4 silent inhales. Hold your breath for 7 seconds to relax your heart rate. 8-second exhalation. Naturally, this method is just temporary. We must improve feedback to do it. Look. Key idea number 3. Clear feedback and a growth mentality help us grow. We need a new vision for input to improve it. The authors describe feedback as detailed, clear information given or sought solely to help people or groups better. Explain that. Feedback must be detailed and clear. Just keep doing what you're doing or watch what Janie in sales is doing, and follow that doesn't benefit anyone. Clear information motivates best. Second, seek and give feedback. We must request feedback to benefit from it. Finally, feedback should be growth focused. Why offer it if not to help someone grow? Feedback should always be utilized to improve, never to hurt. A growth mentality might help you accept comments. Dr. Carol Dweck, a Stanford University psychologist, writes that people with a fixed mentality feel their natural abilities, like intelligence or talent, are fixed and don't invest in enhancing them. Talent is just the beginning for those with a growth mindset, who value learning and mental toughness. Dweck discovered that people with a fixed mindset dismissed negative feedback, even if it was helpful, while those with a growth mindset sought feedback and saw criticism as a learning experience. A growth mindset makes it easier to accept feedback and learn from it. So watch how you handle workplace issues. If you say, "I can't do this," remind yourself that you can't yet. Comparing yourself to Sarah's people skills? Make a commitment to approach Sarah for networking advice, and remember yourself that strengthening this area could provide genuine rewards. Next Blink, we'll examine the underpinnings of a better feedback culture. Key idea number 4. Positive feedback requires connection, trust, and attention. Stable foundations are needed for durable construction. Positive feedback culture follows suit. Listening and understanding people builds trust, which is the first step to a better feedback culture. Feedback needs trust. We listen to trusted sources more than untrustworthy ones. Spend time connecting with coworkers. Spend time with them and try to understand their perspectives without condemning them. Dr. John Gottman's 5-to-1 ratio may help you get started. He observed that a successful, stable relationship required a pair to have at least 5 pleasant encounters for every bad one. Consider how much better your coworker relationships would be if you drastically increased your positive connections. Next is easy but crucial: observing. Noticing is watching things or people without judgment or emotion. How does this affect feedback? We always observe instead of waiting for an annual performance evaluation. We focus on the present and can always offer clear, factual observations with our colleagues. Thus, feedback dialogues will improve. "Hey, I'm disappointed, you could have said before. We agreed to finish on time." Instead of blaming or judging, you focus on specifics when you notice. Instead, remark, "The tracking details show we were 4 hours behind on Friday. Is it true that we agreed to notify me of delays?" Noticing improves your feedback. Do this to see feedback's beneficial power. Let's discuss how to aggressively seek input for those who must. Key idea number 5, specific, multiple source feedback seekers should ask for comments to enhance performance. It's likely to work. In a Forbes article, leadership expert Jack Zinger discussed data showing that firms that seek for feedback rather than just offering it perform better and have stronger teams. Why not start by asking for feedback? Tips for becoming a great seeker are below. First, concentrate your request. "Can you tell me how I'm doing right now?" is likely to stress out feedback providers, according to research. Specificity is best. If you have a large presentation coming up and know your delivery can waver, you could ask your manager, "When I present to marketing today, could you keep an eye on my body language and audience eye contact? I'm worried I'm pacing and not connecting." That provides your feedback source a clear request and gives you actionable, precise feedback instead of vague comments on your presentation. Second, consider how to obtain feedback from various sources. Greater feedback means more learning. If those sources are diversified, you'll obtain a more accurate view of your performance than if you merely listen to one management. Though essential, her perspective is just one. Consider who else could provide meaningful feedback. Our immediate peers provide honest input but are often neglected. We solicit feedback from managers and leaders too often. But your peers know you best, working with you daily and witnessing both your strengths and weaknesses. Globoforce discovered that peer-to-peer recognition is 36% more likely to improve financial results than manager-employee recognition. We hear more voices when everyone participates in feedback. Key idea number 6, ask the correct questions and moderate your emotions to maximize feedback. Even if you're receiving feedback, you can't merely listen. You must work to maximize the circumstance. You can easily ensure that every feedback session works for you by asking the proper questions. If you're getting too many generalities, ask for details. "Could you give an example?" Ask about the behavior's consequences. Asking, "Could you explain the impact that has on the team?" can help you understand why you need to change a behavior. However, occasionally feedback givers confuse things by covering too many issues. Asking, "What's the one thing I should be doing more of?" helps your feedback provider gently clarify. We often misinterpret feedback based on our emotional response. Because you feel embarrassed, you imagine your manager wants to shame you when she awkwardly pulls you out on a PowerPoint typo in front of the team. She merely wanted to let you know so you could fix it next time. To avoid this mistake, always assume that your feedback givers are trying to help. Feedback will still be hard to hear. One bad thought can easily overpower our brains, erasing all pleasant thoughts. Psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema found that a single stressor triggers a cascade of unpleasant thoughts, often unconnected. Ask yourself a few questions if one tough piece of feedback starts a downhill emotional cycle. What's true? Bias? How can you advance? Consider these questions to move from punishment to progress. Key idea number 7. Giving useful feedback requires self-awareness and frequent, bite-sized information. You may like being honest. That may seem harsh to sensitive people. The final step of an effective feedback process is self-knowledge, because your personality, work style, and communication style affect feedback. So reflect on your actions and realize that you may need to change your tone or attitude. When giving feedback, be explicit about your intentions. Sometimes our motives fall short of helping others. Stop blaming others for a missed deadline or a failed project. Why am I giving feedback? Helping this person grow? Is this for me? You're now right-minded. How can you improve feedback practically? Focus on regular, bite-sized information. We learn by sharing. A study of school children found that receiving feedback before, during, and after learning improved their performance. It gave them time to process their new knowledge. Adults are no different, and research encourages giving informal criticism at least every 2 weeks. I don't have time for feedback meetings every 2 weeks. You might say, you can keep things small. Give the recipient one recommendation or objective to focus on. Every day, we process millions of pieces of information. Keeping things modest and controllable enhances the likelihood of your feedback being taken seriously. Remember that the easiest approach to start is by observing all the good things around you and telling your coworkers about their positive impact. Finally, give more compliments. Research by leadership consultant Jack Zinger demonstrates that managers are less effusive and less effective at giving constructive feedback than they assume. Give more positive feedback even if you think you are. Many people dislike feedback. Feedback evokes horror, not necessarily. Feedback is the best way to improve yourself and your business. By making feedback frequent, fair, and focused, we may reduce our fear and anxiety and use it to improve. To view more content like this, subscribe. Don't forget to like and turn on notifications. The channel really benefits from it. I appreciate you being here.